Hey everyone, in this video I'll teach you everything you need to play chess. The video is rather long, so feel free to skip the parts you already know. Timestamps are in the description below. Let's get to it. If you're playing over the board, you need to know how to set it up. The bottom right corner should be white. The two rooks go in the corners. The knights go next to them. And the bishops after that. The queen goes on a square of its color, white and black. The king goes next to her. 8 pawns go on the second rank like this. Chess is a turn-based game. One player gets the white pieces, the other gets black, and white goes first. On each turn you have to move one of your pieces. A rook can move any number of squares in a vertical or horizontal direction. A bishop can move any number of squares diagonally. The knight moves 1 square forward and 1 diagonally in the same direction without stopping midway. A queen can move any number of squares in any direction. A pawn can move 1 square forward each turn until it reaches the end of the board, where it has to turn into something else other than a king. This is called promotion. Usually players will choose a queen, so a player may have more than 1 queen at the same time. If it's the first time a pawn moves, it can move 2 squares. A piece can capture an enemy piece by moving to the square it occupies and removing it from the board. All pieces capture in the same way they move except the pawn, which captures diagonally forward. In the diagram, the pawn may capture the knight but not the bishop. If a pawn moves 2 squares and had it moved only once, an enemy pawn could have captured it. The enemy pawn can still capture it on that very same square. This is called en passant. Very important. En passant can only be played in the turn right after the pawn moved 2 squares and not later. No piece can go over another except for the knight. In this position, the rook can't reach this square as the knight is obstructing its view. However, the knight may well go over here. The king can move 1 square in any direction provided that the square is not under attack. In this position, these 2 squares are forbidden because the bishop controls them. The king has another move called castling, where it moves 2 squares towards one of the rooks and the rook lands right next to it, like this. For castling to be possible, the squares between the king and the rook have to be vacant. Neither the king nor the rook that is castling towards can have moved before, and the 3 squares that the king has to go through can't be under enemy attack. The relative value of the pieces is as follows. A knight and a bishop are worth roughly 3 points each, a rook 5 and a queen 9. A king is in check when an enemy piece attacks it. It isn't allowed to remain in check for another move. Any move that puts the king in check is illegal, so in this position the knight can't move. If a king is in check and no move can get it out of it, it is checkmate and the opponent wins. This pattern I just showed you is known as back rank checkmate because the king is checkmated on the back rank. It's also very common to deliver checkmate like this, where the queen is right in the king's face, supported by one of its pieces so it can't be captured. You can also win a game if your opponent resigns or if their time runs out and you have sufficient material to deliver checkmate. If a player has no legal moves and it's their turn, it's stalemate and a draw. A draw may also happen by sufficient material. A knight isn't enough to deliver checkmate to a king, therefore this is a draw. 2 knights on the other hand may win with the opponent's help. The minimum amount of material required to force checkmate is a queen, a rook, 2 bishops, a bishop and a knight, or a pawn because it can promote to a queen. Draws can also happen by agreement, by 50 move rule, which means 50 consecutive moves without captures or pawn moves, or by 3-fold repetition, which is the same position repeated 3 times with the same player to move, like this. 1, 2, 3. If you want to play online, there are 2 main websites to choose from with their respective apps, lichess.org and chess.com. You're looking at Lichess right now. It is completely free. It has puzzles, it has an analysis board. You hit play over here, choose your time control and get started. Chess.com, on the other hand, has a lot of features behind a paywall. However, playing is still free. I recommend that you create an account in one of these sites so that you may have an elo, that is a rating, and I also recommend that you pick one of the slower time controls, like 15 minutes plus 10 seconds of increment per move, for instance, so that you may learn the game properly and not make mistakes just due to time pressure. To represent moves nowadays, we use algebraic notation, where the ranks range from 1 to 8 from white's perspective, and the files from A to H. The square, therefore, would be e4. The names of the pieces are recorded as follows: R for rook, B for bishop, Q for queen, K for king, and N for knight to distinguish it from K, which is king. A move is denoted by the name of the piece followed by the square it goes to, knight d4. If two pieces can go to the same square, disambiguation is necessary, knight fd4, knight 5d4. A capture is denoted by a time sign, knight takes d4. A move without a piece name is a pawn move, d4. For captures made by a pawn, the original file is mentioned, d takes e5. Promotion is represented by an equal sign, a8 queen. A check is denoted by a plus sign, bishop b5 check. Checkmate is sometimes denoted by a hash or simply the word mate, queen e7 mate. Both chess.com and Lichess have an analysis tool. On Lichess, go to Tools, Analysis Board. You can place some moves on the board and run the engine for analysis. The evaluation is represented as a decimal number. A positive number means the advantage goes to white, a negative one to black, and 0 means equality. An absolute value of 1 would be approximately the equivalent of a pawn. The higher the depth, the more accurate the engine's evaluation will be. The lines you see here are the engine lines. You can add more in the settings. A fen is a string of characters that represents a position. A PGN, on the other hand, may contain an entire game. You can paste your own fen or PGN on the analysis board to analyze your own positions and games. You can click on this icon to open the database, where you can check the moves played from this position, their frequency, and the percentage of the results. You can tune the preferences of your search by clicking on the wheel. The Lichess database contains games from the site, whereas the Masters database contains high-level over-the-board games. You can also look at your own stats by looking for a specific player. Positions with 7 pieces or less, including the kings, have been solved. You can click on Opening Explorer and Table Base and see the solution. In this position, for instance, a3 draws, whereas rook c2, giving up a rook, would lose. On chess.com, the analysis tool is located under Learn, Analysis. You can load a fen or a PGM by pasting it here and clicking Add Game. Here you can see the engine lines. If you want to save your own fen or PGN, you can click the Share button, copy them from here, or click Download. On chess.com, the information about the database may be found in the Explorer. Needless to say, all of these analysis tools may never be used during a game, as that would be cheating. The opening is the first stage of the game, where the players develop their forces and prepare for the middle game. The most common moves to open a game are e4, d4, c4 the English, and knight f3 the ready. What all of these moves have in common is a view towards controlling the center. The center is important because pieces there enjoy more freedom. Ideally, a player would like to place 2 pawns in the center, develop the knights, develop the bishops, develop the queen castle so that the king is safe and the rooks are connected, and bring the rooks to the middle. However, chess is a 2-player game, and after e4, for instance, e5 already prevents d4. Other replies against e4 include the Sicilian c5 controlling the center from the flank, e6 the French defense preparing to play d5 to strike in the center, c6 also preparing d5 where the d5 pawn will be supported by the c6 pawn, and d5 right away the Scandinavian. Generally, bringing the queen out early isn't a good idea, as the opponent can gain time on it by developing a piece and hitting it at the same time. After d4, black usually prevents e4 by playing knight f6 or d5. On the second move, white usually plays c4, putting pressure in the center and offering the trade of a center pawn for a flank pawn. This is called the Queen's Gambit. It isn't truly a gambit, as white can regain the pawn easily. After c4, the English play may transpose somewhere else. Alternatively, black can play the reversed Sicilian or the symmetrical English. After knight f3, black may play d5 or knight f6. I recommend that you try out different moves, analyze the games with the engine afterwards, and find out what you're more comfortable with. After developing the forces in the opening comes the middle game. During this phase of the game, you'll just use your tactical and positional understanding. Chess is 99% tactics. By that, I mean forcing moves. Moves that condition your opponent to do something. Forcing moves are checks, captures, and threats. In this position, white to play wins by giving a check. Knight c7, the king has to move, and white wins a rook by virtue of a fork, a double attack on the king and the rook. In this position with white to move, this knight is overloaded, defending this bishop and at the same time defending against checkmate on h7. After knight e4, the knight can't recapture therefore because of the threat of checkmate. The way to train your tactics is by doing puzzles. Both chess.com and Lichess have them. On Lichess you can find them here and here on chess.com. This is how you should approach doing puzzles. Look for checks, captures, and attacks. Remember, forcing moves. Why to move? Do we have any checks in this position? Yes, but it loses a queen. We don't have any captures besides that one. Do we have an attack then? d5 hits the knight and discovers an attack on the rook in the corner. The fastest way for you to improve at chess will be to do many puzzles so that you can recognize the patterns easily in your own games. After a lot of pieces fly off the board, the endgame is reached. Following International Master Jeremy Silman's complete endgame course, as a beginner you will only need to know the ladder checkmate, queen checkmate, and rook checkmate. In this position, white has two rooks and can do the following. Cuts off the enemy king so that it stays on this side of the board. Brings the other rook with a check, forcing the king to go towards the edge of the board. Now the other rook comes in with check, doing the same thing. Notice how the ladder is in effect, alternating between the rooks. Now that the king is on the edge of the board, checkmate will be possible, not like this however, as that hangs a rook. So white swings the rook to the other side, still controlling this. And after the king moves, checkmate. Of course, this can also be achieved by swapping each of these rooks for a queen or both of them. Now I'll show you how to checkmate with a queen. I'll show you the easiest, not the fastest method. We place the queen in knight opposition to the king, as if it were a knight giving a check. Wherever the king goes, we mimic the moves. Once we get to the edge of the board, we bring the king to support the queen and deliver checkmate. For the rook checkmate, we also need to drive the opponent's king to the edge of the board. We will do so by creating a barrier with the rook, then bringing our king and forcing the opponent to either go towards the edge or oppose our king so that our rook check will drive him there. We repeat the process until we deliver checkmate. If our rook is under attack, we swing it to the other side. We make a waiting move when we need the opponent to move in order to make progress. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and comment below. It all helps me very much and I'll be very grateful. Feel free to check out my other content as well. I hope you have a wonderful day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.